What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Sliced. You know what, I'm not even going to long anything out today. Let's just get straight into the video. We've got our second steak from Saffron Alley. It's the Porterhouse. Basically on one side you've got the sirloin, on the other side you've got the fillet, and it's just a really premium huge cut of steak, a proper steak if you're looking for one. So let's get right into it. Right, now there's basically three components to this. We've got our steak itself, we have the lobster mac and cheese, and we have some prawns. That's right, we're gonna do a nice surf and turf. So let's get all our prep out the way first. With that steak, all I've done is trimmed off the excess fat around it. I don't want too much fat on this steak, but I want enough to give us some nice flavor. Next up, we have our lobster. What I'm gonna do is take my lobster tails. I'm gonna cut them straight down the middle so they're in half, and I'm going to remove any guts that there might be still lying around. If there's the digestion sac or the poop sac, whatever you wanna call it, still lying around in there, just carefully try and remove that. And I'm going to gently pry the meat away from the shell, chopping it up into small cubes. I'm going to sort of range the size of these lobster pieces because I don't want that mac and cheese to just be, you know, really fine pieces of lobster, really big pieces. It's nice to eat it and then get little surprises as you go along. And I'm going to keep that to one side as well. Lastly, we have our prawns. Now these are whole prawns. I wanted to get the whole prawns on purpose because I want to show you how to sort of treat them. It's very simple. Don't be intimidated by how alien they kind of look. They're really simple creatures to manage. What we're gonna do, you see they have a bunch of little legs on the side. We're just gonna take our thumb and forefinger, pinching it and ripping them out as easily as you can. Just pull them off. If there's a few little bits left, it should be absolutely fine. Next up, we're going to remove the head. Again, very simple. You're gonna pinch it just at the top behind where the brain is, so around the neck sort of area. Give it a light squeeze and just twist it and it should come off very easily. Now lastly, we just have the body, and the body is sort of broken up into different little plates. What I'm going to do is gently prise open sort of each of the plates, and they should eventually come off quite easily. At this point, once you've removed it all the way to the tail, you don't want to just completely rip it off because then you'll take off some of the meat. So we're just going to gently pinch that tail and wiggle it very gently until the whole thing comes off. We're not done there though. What the last step is taking a small knife or a big knife, whatever you want, and making a light cut on the back of your prawn. This will reveal the poop sac or the digestive tract, and you want to just remove that nice and easily. And we're just going to give this a very quick dip in some water and put it to one side so that it can dry. We're going to do that to all our prawns, and that is basically all our prep done. So the first thing we're going to do is sort out our lobster mac and cheese. So what I'm going to do is bring some water to a boil. I'm going to actually add in the shells of the tail to this water. It's going to create a basic stock, but we're also going to extract as much flavor as we can from the lobster. I mean, come on, lobster is expensive, so you want to get as much as you can out of this, right? Once that water is nice and flavored and we've seasoned it with a load of salt, we're going to add in our macaroni, bring it up to a boil for about 9 to 10 minutes just so that it's al dente. In the meantime, we can go ahead and start on our sauce. So I'm going to heat up in a pan some butter. All the measurements and whatever will be in the description below. I'm going to heat up some butter, add in our lobster meat actually, and this is also going to release a lot of flavor into that butter. We're also cooking the pieces very lightly. We don't want to cook it through, just poach it gently so that we definitely know that it's going to be cooked when it goes into our mac and cheese. Once that's done, I'm going to remove our lobster meat and add in a few tablespoons of flour, mixing that in with a spoon or a whisk for about a couple minutes on a very low heat, after which we can go and add in our milk in 3 parts. A little bit at first to get it introduced and whisk it in, then a little bit more, and finally the last bit, which is going to help our sauce. You can add as much or as little as you want. I'm also going to add in a few blocks of Red Leicester cheese. This is going to help our sauce with the color and also that texture, giving it a nice cheesy sort of texture. Once our macaroni is cooked, we're going to drain all that water out and mix the sauce in with the macaroni, adding in our lobster pieces as well and just mixing the whole thing together. Then what I'm going to do is taking our lobster tails, I'm going to fill it with the mac and cheese. We don't want to waste anything, and it's a great way to present it as well. I'm going to fill it with the mac and cheese, top it off with some cheddar, and we're going to put this in the oven to get really nice and golden on top. This is why we don't cook the macaroni or the lobster tail all the way through, because we want to get that finish in the oven. We don't want it to be overcooked. What we're going to do is take our steak, letting it rest at room temperature. That's why I prepped it first, so that it can rest at room temperature for about 20 to 30 minutes. And it's nice and seasoned with the salt and black pepper. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on top. I'm going to heat a large pan to a smoking point. And once it's nice and hot, I'm just going to lay that steak in away from me and get that nice crust forming. I'd say about 1.5 minutes on each side so that you've got that nice crust forming. Then I'm going to go in with some butter, some garlic, some rosemary, and I'm going to baste it over for about another minute or 1.5 minutes. This is quite a thin steak, so it's not going to take too long to cook, and I want to get that nice blushing center. I always like to go around the medium rare, sort of medium kind of area. I don't think you should go higher than that. If you want to, grow up. I'm joking. But seriously, the best way to have a steak is to have that nice bit of pink in the middle. You really need that to bring out the maximum flavor. Lastly, we have our prawns. I mean, there's so many ways that you can do prawns. You can do it the dynamite way. I've got a video for that as well. In this case, I'm just going to do some very simple Cajun fried prawns. What I'm going to do is take some Cajun seasoning, some flour, mix the two together, toss our prawns in that mix, and I'm going to heat up some butter and oil in a pan. The butter for the flavor and the oil so that it doesn't burn. And we're going to add in our prawns and fry it so that it becomes really beautiful and crispy. So once our steak has rested for about 10 minutes, we're going to carve it off the bone. So we're going to take our knife and run it along the bone, removing that sirloin, removing the fillet, carving it all up, and serving it all up as one huge surf and turf platter. When you look at this dish, it's going to make you want to say, Lord have mercy. Again, big shout out to Saffron Ali for sending me this really beautiful steak. I'll leave a link to them in the description below. Full recipe in the description below. Please try this out if you can. Send me your pictures at sliced_YT on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and everything else. And I'll see you next time. Bye.